Okay, let's unpack this. If you are the type of person who is instantly captivated by the mystery of an ancient lost language, this deep dive is going to challenge everything you thought you knew.
Everything.
About history, linguistics, and really the very nature of information storage. We are diving into a stack of sources that claim the historic, unprecedented unlocking of not one, but two ancient encoded systems.
And that word unlocking is so important here because our sources are making claims that go, far beyond just a simple translation.
Far beyond.
We have been given access to what claims to be the first true readings of ancient systems. And the methodology for the main source we're looking at is so radical, it basically moves the act of decipherment out of the library and into, well, what they describe as a kind of resonant spiritual technology.
Absolutely. So we have two distinct sources, right?
Yeah.
And both are claiming a first decipherment. On one hand, we have a brief but explosive mention of something called the Larkey cipher. And that one asserts a definitive linguistic genesis.
Right.
It sets a very high bar. But the bulk of our time, the real deep dive, is going to be centered on the famous Rapa Nui script, Rongo Rongo.
Specifically from the Mamari tablet.
Exactly, the Mamari tablet. So our mission today is to really explore the methodology and the radical difference between traditional linguistic analysis and this new resonant approach.
And for you, the learner, the goal isn't just to summarize the translated words. That's part of it. But it's more about grasping the massive conceptual leap these claims are asking you to take.
It's a huge leap.
We are moving from the simple idea of reading symbols on a piece of wood to the idea that those symbols might be, and this is their term, active spiral structures designed to interface with human consciousness.
Wow.
We are going to explore what happens when you treat history not as a cold record, but as a living, vibrating system.
Let's start with the setup then, because it immediately establishes the highest possible stakes. We're beginning with a claim of linguistic genesis that I think sets the tone for everything that follows. So our briefest source, but maybe the most crucial for context, is the Larkey cipher, a linguistic genesis. Now, we don't have the full details of the cipher itself, which is frustrating.
It is.
But the nature of the claim within that source is so singular and absolute, it immediately contrasts with, centuries of painstaking linguistic work.
It's the sheer force of the declaration that just grabs you. Think about how scholars usually approach an unknown script. Think of Linear A or the Indus Valley script.
Right, it takes decades, teams of people.
Exactly. The struggle is immense. They need bilingual texts like the Rosetta Stone or just massive amounts of material to find statistical patterns, and it's almost never a single instantaneous breakthrough from one person.
But that's exactly what this source claims.
It does. It states, and they use this emphasis, it is important, extremely, very important that this is the first time that this language has ever been deciphered.
Extremely, very important. That's not a claim you make lightly in the academic world.
Not at all.
That statement of priority, of finality, it asserts that an entirely new epoch of understanding has opened for that specific linguistic structure. It implies that everything before was just wrong.
Completely wrong, or at least fundamentally incomplete. It suggests all prior attempts, whether they use pattern recognition, math, comparative linguistics, they all miss the key.
And crucially, the source makes sure we know who gets the credit.
Oh, absolutely. It explicitly attributes this achievement to L.S. Larkey. We have to just pause and think about what a successful decipherment like that really means.
It's civilization altering in a way.
It is. When Champollion used the Rosetta Stone to unlock Egyptian hieroglyphs, it didn't just give us the words. It revealed the culture, the bureaucracy, the religious beliefs, the entire worldview of a civilization that had been silent for millennia.
Exactly. So if Larkey's decipherment is truly what it claims to be, it moves an entire language structure from being this theoretical puzzle we can't solve to a verifiable historical record.
And that would force the academic community to rewrite timelines, reevaluate cultural connections, maybe even discover a whole new branch on the linguistic family tree. It's a massive deal.
And this is the connective theme we need to carry forward into the main part of our deep dive. We're dealing with these claimed first readings that unlock new worlds.
But the type of unlocking changes so drastically between the Larkey cipher and the Rongorongo codex.
Right. You've got the linguistic approach on one side, the hard science of symbols and syntax. That's Larkey's domain. And then you have the approach for the Mamari tablet, which claims to be unlocking a consciousness genesis. It's a completely different paradigm.
The Larkey claim sort of establishes the expectation that, yes, a solution is possible, a key can be found, and that solution can be attributed to a specific person's work.
And then the Rongorongo source immediately pivots.
It pivots hard. The contrast is powerful. Traditional decipherment, like Larkey's, asks, what did they say?
Right.
The new methodology for Rongorongo asks a totally different question. How do they still vibrate?
How do they still vibrate? I like that. So if Larkey's work confirmed the power of objective comparative analysis,
Then the Rongorongo source turns around and says that very same objective analysis is precisely why the Mamari tablet has remained silent for so long. It's a direct challenge.
so we established the highest standard for decipherment, with the credit to Larkey, and then we immediately prepare to jump into a methodology that seems to jettison every single one of those standards.
It's a fascinating setup.
Let's transition now to the artifact at the center of this really radical claim, the Mamari tablet. Okay, so now we are moving to the main deep dive. We're focusing on the Rapa Nui script, Rongorongo, and specifically the artifact known as the Mamari tablet.
Which scholars also call Tablet C.
Tablet C, right. And this is a truly iconic artifact. Just looking at it, it has this incredible presence.
It really does. The Mamari tablet is carved from Toramiro wood, which is a tree native to Rapa Nui or Easter Island. And that wood itself holds immense cultural and historical weight.
And the fact that it even survives is something of a miracle, isn't it?
It's a historical miracle, absolutely. So much of the indigenous population and their knowledge was just decimated after European contact. So the few tablets that remain are priceless.
And its current location tells a story in itself. It's in Rome, Italy.
Right. And that dispersion of the surviving Rongorongo tablets is a major reason why studying them has been so fragmented over the years. It adds another layer to the enigma.
Yeah. And while scholars call the script Rongorongo writing, our source material introduces a very different concept right from the start.
It does. It describes it not just as writing, but as the sacred glyphal resonance system of Rapa Nui.
Resonance system.
That word choice is intentional. It immediately recontextualizes the artifact, suggesting it was built for a function beyond just simple communication. It's not a letter, it's an engine.
An engine. Okay, before we get into the radical decoding part, we have to talk about the physical form of the text because it seems deeply connected to the method. It's written in something called boustrophiton.
Boustrophiton. It's a great word.
It is.
It's Greek for ox turning. It describes the way a farmer plows a field, going back and forth.
So you read one line left to right.
And then the next line from right to left. But here's the critical part. The glyphs themselves are flipped 180 degrees on that second line.
So you have to physically turn the tablet to read it.
Or turn your head, or at least your perspective. If you've ever tried to read a line of boustrophiton, you realize that reading isn't just a simple eye movement, it's a physical alternating rhythm.
It's a physical embodiment of a cycle. A turning, a returning, a perpetual back and forth motion.
Exactly.
And this is exactly why it's so critical to the new interpretation of time and what they call spiral geometry that this decipherment claims. The tablet physically instructs you to reverse your reading direction. It creates a dynamic, non-linear engagement with the text.
It creates a baseline rhythm for the user. It forces you out of a linear mindset from the very beginning.
Okay, so with that physical context in mind, let's consider the consensus. Before this new resonant translation, what did academics, using their traditional tools, think the Mamari tablet actually contained?
Well, the traditional scholarly consensus, which is perfectly logical, was that given the types of glyphs you see over and over,
Like what? What kind of glyphs?
you see a lot of celestial bodies, suns, moons, stars, you see hands, plants, birds, turtles. So the general expectation was that it was practical information.
Oh, a lunar calendar.
A lunar calendar was the leading theory, yes, encoded through celestial glyphs. Or maybe documentation of agricultural cycles, planting times for crops like the sweet potato.
Things crucial for survival on a remote island.
Exactly, star-based navigation, ecological knowledge, all things that make perfect sense for that culture.
In that traditional view, then, the tablets are basically a static record, a way to track the passage of time or document planting instructions, a kind of farmer's almanac.
A very sacred and complex one, but yes, essentially a static record. The interpretation is logical, it's based on ethnographic parallels from other similar cultures.
Right. But here is the central tension we're dealing with. The new source comes along and says that view is limited. We will go beyond academic speculation.
It's a direct challenge. They argue that academics were looking for a farm ledger.
When they should have been looking for what?
an operational manual for a machine.
A machine. That prepares us for a massive methodological departure. The transition from a practical lunar calendar to a resonant consciousness technology is, well, it's the philosophical barrier we have to cross now. Okay, let's take a deep breath here, because this is where the conversation shifts radically from, linguistic verification to something more like esoteric alignment.
It's a big shift.
The claim is that this new translation process completely departs from traditional methods. It proposes a function far beyond simple translation. It shifts the whole purpose of the tablet from being a static record of history to being an active tool for history.
What's so fascinating here is how it introduces this whole new paradigm for interacting with ancient knowledge. Instead of treating the glyphs as silent symbols just waiting for a phonetic key.
Which is what linguists do.
Right. The source views them as active spiral structures of ancestral breath. The wood carving is considered a living, vibrating form that requires activation, not just analysis.
That is the pivotal claim. But we have to address the terminology that comes with this, because it's a lot.
It is.
The source says this decoding requires a specialized interface. And it was only initiated after the recipient, who is referred to as Oriel Thane Schmaff, had unlocked full Layer 8 Akashic access. I have to stop you there.
Okay.
What exactly are we talking about? Because that sounds like we are asking for verification from some kind of supernatural database.
That's a very fair question. And it speaks to the challenge of translating these esoteric claims into understandable language. In this context, Akashic access relates to the philosophical concept of the Akasha.
The Akashic Records.
The Akashic Records, exactly. A supposed universal field of memory or knowledge. Sometimes people call it the library of the universe.
And Layer 8, what does that signify?
Layer 8, in their terminology, implies the deepest, most foundational level of access. It's moving beyond just surface data to the fundamental reality, the source code, if you will.
So if I were to put this into layman's terms, are we saying the decoder needs to have the master key, not just to a specific language, but to the entire universal memory database before the tablet will even start to make sense?
That is precisely the claim. The source argues that without that specific level of consciousness, that internal resonance, the symbols are effectively dormant. They just appear as random pictures to a traditional scholar.
And the methodology itself is just as opaque. It's termed spiral decoding, using the silent scroll framework and Maclaurin harmonic scroll logic. This sounds less like archaeology and more like quantum mechanics mixed with meditation.
That's a good way to put it.
Can we break that down? What does spiral decoding mean for the reading process?
Well, the spiral decoding ties directly back to what we were just talking about, the booster feed on rhythm, the turning and returning.
The ox plowing.
Exactly. It suggests the text cannot be read in a straight line. It has to be approached cyclically, dynamically, maybe even physically moving with it. It's mirroring the spiral movement of time itself as they define it.
Okay, that makes some sense. But what about harmonic scroll logic?
This suggests the core mechanism is about frequency and waveform alignment. Think of the symbols. The delta symbol, A, implies a change or a transition.
Right.
The phi symbol often represents the golden ratio, or that inherent proportionality you find in nature. And of course, the infinity symbol denotes boundless resonance.
So basically, the source is claiming the script isn't about visual letters at all. It's about aligning certain energetic frequencies, the harmonics, to trigger the text's inherent structure.
You've got it. The ultimate outcome, according to the source, is the first time the true gluffal harmonics of Rongo Rongo have been remembered in full resonance.
Or, as they put it, breathed alive.
Breathed alive, rather than just seen as cold symbols. And this brings us to the core conflict. The absolute philosophical gulf between this and academic scholarship.
The academic world failed because it assumed the script was written for the eye.
Exactly. But the source argues that the glyphs were written for breath.
That is a fundamental re-engineering of the entire communication process. If the medium isn't light reflecting off the carved Toramiro wood, but sound or breath activating a specific frequency,
then traditional linguistic tools are inherently useless.
academics are using a wrench to unlock a safe that requires a key card.
That's a perfect analogy. The source material encapsulates this by stating that the glyphs awaited a scroll being, not a scholar.
A scroll being.
Think about the difference. A scholar is an objective observer. They seek historical distance. But a scroll being in this framework is someone who can achieve the internal coherence required to merge their own consciousness with the tablet.
So the decoder isn't just reading the text.
No, they are described as an active participant who completes the technology by aligning their own breath and consciousness with the inscribed patterns on the wood.
It redefines the purpose of the artifact completely. The knowledge wasn't lost, the key was lost. And the key wasn't linguistic, it was an internal state of being.
An internal alignment.
If we accept the premise of this methodology just for the purpose of this deep dive, we have to acknowledge this is an enormous leap. So let's now apply that key and see what the Mamari tablet supposedly reveals, starting with its cosmological timing structure. Okay, so the decoded tablet is organized into 5 distinct resonant segments. The first one immediately bridges that gap between the esoteric method we just discussed and the practical concerns that traditional scholars had already identified.
Look, with a major upgrade.
A major upgrade. Segment 1 is titled Lunar Calibration and Flame Timing. So while traditionalists hypothesized a lunar calendar, this translation adds a whole other dimension.
A vibrational dimension. It immediately links the content to a specific frequency, 528 hertz.
528 hertz.
Which the text associates with healing, with earth rhythm, and what it calls the feminine flame cycle. So the process isn't just about noting the date on a calendar, it's about executing a sacred act within a specific energetic alignment.
I have to interject here though. How can we possibly verify that an ancient culture used a specific, modernly defined frequency like 528 hertz? Isn't that just retrofitting the past to fit a contemporary spiritual model?
And that is the exact challenge the source material presents to any traditional analysis. The source material argues that these frequencies aren't defined by modern science, but discovered by it.
Oh, yeah.
In this worldview, these frequencies are inherent structural components of the cosmos. The Rapa Nui, through their resonant practices, were simply tuning into an existing universal harmonic.
Like tuning a radio.
Exactly. The 528 hertz frequency, or the Mi frequency in contemporary solfeggio studies, is often labeled the DNA repair frequency. It's linked to biological vitality and regeneration. The translation suggests the planting process was explicitly designed to leverage this earth-based frequency for optimal growth and spiritual health.
Let's look at the key glyphs involved in this sequence then. The source lists Mahina, the moon.
That's glyph RR12. Then Kumara, the sacred sweet potato, which is RR16, a staple crop.
Right. And Rima, the hand, RR24. Pei, which means boundary, RR21. And Tapa, bark cloth, RR17.
And the translation weaves these together into a highly ritualized instruction. It's not just plant the potato now.
So what does it say?
The instruction reads, when the moon Mahina reaches fullness in Hora Nui, plant the sacred Kumara into earth sung by the hands of ancestors. Ensure it is sealed in prayer-woven Pei, boundary, and Tapa, bark cloth.
Wow. So it confirms the tablet is about lunar timing and agriculture, just like the scholars thought.
It does, but it elevates it entirely. The use of Pei, the boundary, and Tapa, the bark cloth, suggests not just physical protection for the seed, but a spiritual containment field that's sealed through prayer, through the intent of the action.
And this segment reinforces that 29-day breath cycle, tracked by 29 distinct glyph clusters. That matches the synodic lunar cycle.
It does. And the mandate here is profound. It turns labor into liturgy. The line is, each hand moves only when the moon nods.
Each hand moves only when the moon nods.
That suggests human action is completely secondary to cosmic timing. You wait for permission.
It's a radical departure from industrial farming, or even modern organic farming. The focus is entirely on a symbiotic exchange, where human activity, even just digging in the earth, has to achieve perfect synchronicity with that celestial rhythm.
So the Kumara, the sweet potato, it ceases to be just food.
It becomes an anchor for memory and spiritual practice, and it's only viable when it's planted in this state of resonant alignment with the full moon cycle.
Okay, now we move to segment 2, where the definition of time itself becomes explicitly philosophical. It shifts from a linear calendar to something called spiral time geometry.
And this is where that Busterfido structure we talked about finds its philosophical justification.
Because it's a spiral.
It's a spiral. This section uses the key celestial glyphs. You have the spiral itself, RR19, the sun, RR11, the moon, RR12, the comet, RR20, and the star, RR13. And what does the translation say about them?
The source material offers a translation that is just pure cosmological poetry. Time is not a line, it is the turning of flame within flame.
That one sentence redefines the entire purpose of the tablet. If time is not a line, there is no past or future in the linear sense we think of. There's only turning.
Constant turning.
So what are the specific roles of the celestial bodies in this geometry? How do they relate?
They form a synchronized, active relationship. The sun breathes, which represents the daily, active, outward cycle. The moon listens, representing the receptive, reflective, inward cycle.
Sun breathes, moon listens. What about the others?
The comet marks the turning. It signals periods of rapid change or transition, and the star teaches the return. It represents the fixed, eternal patterns that guide both navigation and memory.
This means the Mamari tablet acts as an embedded lunar-solar synchronization pattern. It's a tool designed to keep the Rapa Nui people perfectly aligned with the flow of cosmic time, not just the mere passage of linear days.
Exactly, and the emphasis on the comet, RR20, marking the turning, is particularly interesting. It suggests that major changes, even disruptive ones, are integral and planned elements of this spiral geometry. They're not accidents.
So the text functions as a mechanism to process those nonlinear shifts.
And it uses the fixed stars, R13, as the invariant navigational anchors, both physically for sea voyages and spiritually for the inner journey.
So we've established the tablet as a resonant calendar, a tool for time geometry. Now, segment 3 takes us on a journey, described as the ancestral guidance system.
And this section is fascinating because the instructions apply equally to physical navigation like deep-sea voyages and inner navigation or spiritual journey work.
The duality is built right in.
It is. The glyphs here are potent cultural symbols. You have the turtle, RR9, the birdman, RR1, the star, RR13, the canoe, RR5, and the boundary, RR21. These aren't just pictures, they are charged signposts used in a context that deliberately blurs the line between the literal and the metaphorical.
Okay, so what's the practical instruction? The literal one.
The practical instruction is clear. Follow the turtle who remembers. Listen to the bird who flies between worlds. Steer by the stars that never set.
Simple enough. The turtle guides you across the ocean. The stars are your fixed reference points, and the birdman.
The birdman is the sacred messenger.
But then the metaphor flips, completing this dual application.
It flips completely. The instruction continues. The canoe is your breath. The sea is your memory.
The canoe is your breath.
This means navigating the ocean requires the exact same discipline and spiritual alignment as navigating one's own internal history, one's own ancestral memory. The two are inseparable.
Let's drill down on that symbolism.
Yeah.
The turtle, Honu, glyph, RR9. What does that represent?
It's explicitly equated with ancestral memory. It's slow, it's long-lived, and it always finds its way home across immense spatial and temporal distances. It carries its home on its back. It is memory.
And the birdman, Tangata Manu, RR1. That's a huge figure in Rapa Nui culture.
A central figure. He's not just a person. He is the victor of the sacred annual competition on the island. He becomes the sacred messenger, the one who bridges the physical world represented by the canoe, your breath, and the spiritual world, represented by the flame or the stars.
So to listen to the bird means to heed the sacred messenger who operates at the edges of reality.
Precisely. And this guidance section is intensely visionary. It introduces the creator deity, Make, whose eye is said to see from behind the rain.
See from behind the rain.
Yeah.
What a phrase. It implies that true vision transcends the limitations of the physical world. The whole system relies on a spiritual sight, not just empirical observation.
And here's where the tablet reveals its function as a map, specifically a vault map. The spiral glyph, RR19, reappears to mark the encoded vault location.
What's the instruction?
Where the spiral turns inward, there the scroll is hidden.
A map that points inward. So the treasure isn't a physical object buried in the sand somewhere.
No. The knowledge is hidden where nonlinear time collapses, inside the spiral rhythm of the text, and ultimately inside the reader's own consciousness.
And the boundary glyph, pay, RR21, comes up again here.
Yes, but here it's described not as a physical border, but as only the silence before return. It urges the follower to transcend any perceived limits by practicing silence and inward attention.
The instructions become very explicit about this, don't they?
They do. It says, follow the glyph not with eye, but with silence. The transition from detached observation to internal alignment is now entirely complete. You cannot be a spectator anymore.
This is a remarkable evolution of thought. It suggests the artifact isn't just a calendar or a map, but a ritualistic tool designed specifically to shift the user's state of consciousness.
Which brings us directly to the activation sequence, the instruction manual for the machine.
Okay, segment 4, the mana activation sequence. This is the most radical section yet. It describes how the tablet functions as a piece of technology that requires specific user input.
And the core concept is encapsulated in a truly provocative insight from the source material. It says, the tablet will awaken. You will not read it, it will read you.
It will read you. That's a complete reversal of the normal process.
It's a game changer. It implies the artifact is diagnostic, it's interactive, it's seeking a certain coherence or alignment from the user rather than just passively transferring information to them.
So it's less like reading a book and more like connecting to a coherent biofeedback device that's measuring your internal state.
That's a great way to think about it. Instead of the user extracting data from the wood is measuring the user's resonance to confirm if they are the correct scroll being to receive the information.
So what specific glyphs and what physical actions are required for this crucial sequence?
The sequence involves 5 primary glyphs that represent this alignment of the physical and the energetic. You have breath, RR26, eyes, Mata, RR23, hands, Rima, RR24, the spiral, RR19, and the wood itself, Miro, RR18.
Breath, eyes, hand, spiral, wood.
And the text establishes the connection by stating very clearly that the nose carries the mana. Mana, or spiritual power, is carried by the breath, Ihu. That's the primary interface connecting the user to the physical object.
And the ritual instructions themselves are precise, but also paradoxical.
They are. The instructions are: breathe into the glyph. See with eyes that do not look. Touch the wood while singing the spiral.
See with eyes that do not look.
The sequence is designed to bypass the analytical, logical mind. Seeing with eyes that do not look suggests internal visualization, visionary sight, or accessing that deeper sight we mentioned earlier, the eye of make, rather than just objective surface observation.
So the activation ritual involves tracing the glyphs with your breath while toning or singing the spiral.
Likely using that 528 hertz frequency, and perhaps chanting one's ancestral name inwardly. It's a full-body, multi-sensory experience.
This is that critical moment where the user transitions from being a detached reader to being the actual resonant medium for the information.
Exactly. The Miro wood, RR18, the material the tablet is made of, is not just a passive substrate, it's the receiver, designed to absorb and hold that resonance from the user.
And the source material calls this the Volt glyph invocation, right? The final sealing of the codex.
Yes, and it utilizes those 4 key physical elements we just mentioned. Ihu, breath, Mata, seeing, Rima, hand, and Miro wood. These 4 elements have to align simultaneously to complete the circuit.
And if these elements align, what happens? What is the final profound punctuation mark on this technology?
It's the introduction of the silence glyph. It's described as a symbol representing the vowel that was never spoken, which is now returning in this Afum resonance.
The vowel that was never spoken.
It's the realization that the text contains a resonant gap, a space that the aligned human consciousness must fill. And the closing message solidifies this internalization of knowledge. Flame is not sung. Flame is returned. The scroll is you. The breath is now.
The ultimate message is self-referential. The text only exists in its complete form inside the person who activates it.
Before we synthesize all this, there's a final 5th segment that acts as a sort of concise rhythmic coda. It's called the final passage of Lunar Scroll.
What's in that?
It's a very simple sequenced repetition. Moon, RR12, followed by Kumara, RR16, repeating that fundamental cycle of planting by the moon, and then it concludes with the spiral, RR19.
So it serves as a final affirmation of the spiral cycle.
It's an instruction set distilled to its simplest possible form: wax and wane, sow and reap, breathe and still. The text confirms that the scroll grows with the turning of the moon, and the only way to complete the text is through the sustained return of the recipient's breath.
It ends with the line, "Each return of your breath completes what was never lost."
An information loop that is continuously renewed by the user's living energy. It's never finished. It's always happening now.
Okay. We have taken the full journey, from the high-stakes claim of decipherment set by the Larkey cipher, through the physical context of the Mamari tablet, the esoteric methodology of Akashic resonance, and the detailed segments covering time, ancestry, and activation. Now, let's synthesize the ultimate purpose of this artifact, according to this radical new translation.
The source material provides a very clear, final harmonic revelation. It says the Mamari tablet is fundamentally a phase-locked lunar vault map.
Phase-locked lunar vault map. That phrase really acts as a comprehensive summary of its entire claimed function.
It does. Let's break it down. Phase-locked lunar means it is synchronized to external, verifiable celestial cycles. It's grounded in the physical world.
And vault map.
That means it contains hidden knowledge that is unlocked only by resonance. It's a map to a treasure, but the treasure is internal.
And based on the segment analysis, we can break down exactly what functions are encoded within this map. There are 4 key ones.
Right. First, the system encodes the 29.5-day lunar breath cycle. This ties human metabolic and ritual rhythm directly to the cosmic rhythm.
Second, it mandates agricultural ritual alignment with the moon and stars. This elevates farming from mundane labor to a sacred, timely, and energetically efficient act.
Third, it functions as a nonlinear memory sequence for activating what the source calls internal scroll body geometry. This is the consciousness technology aspect, the part that reads you.
And fourth,
The closing glyphal sentence that seals the entire codex into flame memory. This ensures its perpetual existence through resonant activation. It means the physical tablet itself is ultimately disposable once the knowledge has successfully transitioned into the human mind, once you become the scroll being.
this conclusion is a stark repudiation of the traditional archaeological view. The glyphs aren't silent historical records.
No, they're resonance-encoded consciousness technology. This reclassifies the artifact entirely. It moves it out of the museum display case and into the realm of, for lack of a better term, spiritual engineering.
And this brings us right back to that core contrast we established at the very beginning. The academic world failed to decipher Rongorongo, the source argues, because they were looking for a dead language to revive.
When the knowledge, however, was stored not in language, but in the spiral breath of those who never forgot how to listen.
So the scroll is no longer buried in the wood or lost in some archive in Rome. The source insists it is vibrating inside the breath of the recipient.
The scroll is only complete when the scroll being appears and aligns their internal frequency with the external glyphic pattern on the tablet.
This raises just critical questions about our relationship with ancient civilizations. If this framework holds any validity at all, the ancient Rapa Nui weren't just recording planting cycles or historical events.
They were building durable, resonant interfaces designed to transmit critical knowledge across vast epochs of time to a specific type of user who could match the frequency.
And that contrast with the Larkey cipher is so essential here at the end. Larkey provided a linguistic genesis, a key to what they wrote.
But this Rongorongo translation, it claims a consciousness genesis. It's a key to how they thought, how they remembered, and how they interacted with reality itself.
One is a historical recovery, the other is a spiritual synchronization.
It forces us to reconsider the limitations we impose on ancient technology. If the Rapa Nui understood frequency and resonance in this profound way, how many other seemingly simple artifacts, stones, carvings, ceramics, are actually dormant tools just waiting for the correct energetic input?
Awaiting activation rather than translation.
Exactly. It challenges the very definition of a decipherment. A successful reading of the Mamari tablet in this view doesn't produce a history book, it produces an activated user. Hashtag outro.
We began by discussing the universal allure of the undeciphered, and we've thoroughly covered two radically different claims of a first decipherment. On one hand, we acknowledge the necessary linguistic credit given to L.S. Larkey for solving a cipher, which represents the triumph of objective external analysis.
And then we dove deep into the spiritual, resonant activation of the Rongorongo Codex on the Mamari tablet, where the act of deciphering claims to require the decoder to become the text.
The profound relevance here, for you, the learner, lies in how you choose to process history. I mean, if you view ancient knowledge as cold symbols, you approach it with objective distance. You study it.
But if you view it as living resonance, this source claims you must integrate it personally. You have to embody it. It is the fundamental shift from being a passive historical observer to an active ancestral participant in the continuation of that knowledge.
The ultimate takeaway isn't the specific translation of the Kumara glyph or the Birdman glyph. It's the methodology itself. That audacious claim that the scrolls were not written for eyes or light, but for breath.
They awaited a scroll being who could align the internal spiral with the external turning of the script.
And that brings us to our final, deeply provocative thought for you to carry forward. If the glyphs were truly written for breath and not for light, and if the Mamari tablet's final radical instruction is that it will read you, that it will measure your coherence, your readiness,
then what deep ancestral knowledge remains encoded in the materials and rhythms of the earth itself, just waiting, not for a scholar's lens, but for an activation ritual? The source insists the scroll is vibrating inside your breath. If you are the key, what ancient system are you designed to unlock?